Welcome back. I've got another video I wanted to share, and this time here it's taking a look at my new army, World Eaters. I did mention I had bought a new army, and that was because of the whole debacle with Canada Post losing my Eldari that I had planned on working on for 10th edition, and I had a very specific plan, and I just got frustrated waiting 3 weeks, and then it showed up without warning. I mean, they never told me they found it, but it showed up the same day this showed up. And so, yeah, I'm just going to do this right now. The Eldari stuff, specifically those Void Scar Corsairs, the pirates anyways, they're super finicky. I started building some of those. I'm just going to, like, kind of segue back to this in a minute, the World Eaters, but I want to just mention, wow, those Eldar are really frustrating to build. I really do not like a lot of the kill team sets I've built so far. And I don't know if it's just I've had bad luck picking certain kill teams, but man, some of them, they're all over the place, and finding the pieces is a slog. I built 10 Berserkers last night. They are similar to, I believe it was the Cadians I mentioned, where everything on the sprue that you need for a guy is right here. There might be a random piece somewhere else, like a head or a shoulder pad, but the body, the legs, the weapons even... again, you can mix and match those, but the core pieces you need to build a dude, they're in one spot. They're numbered sensibly. And by numbered sensibly, I don't mean like 55 goes with 56. I mean 55 isn't on one sprue and 56 is on another. I built 4 of those Eldar and got so frustrated that I just kind of like went, okay, you know what? I'm going to focus on these guys. I was already going to focus on them. I just wanted to build the Eldar because they look so cool. And they do look cool, but I'm already like just... I will go deal with them later. I just immediately got frustrated trying to put them together. They are very fiddly builds. I don't care for that. I wish GW would either do this every time or just go back to simple models. I mean, like, I don't want to fight with the building process. The building process is not fun. At least it isn't anymore. I liked it when it was simpler models because... posing wasn't difficult. You know, you might have to cut a wrist and bend it or something, which may require a small amount of green stuff. I find that everything, because it has little slots you're supposed to fit it into, it's quite difficult to, like, make your own things a lot of times. You know, like these bodies, you would think because they come in so many pieces, they'd be really posable. They're really not. A lot of the pieces, the way they have to fit, they are pushing in at very specific angles. And I'll get to that in the sprue part of this. But yeah, old Berserkers do not look nice by comparison to these guys. But man, they build nicer. I don't care what anyone says. I like old models better. I'm an old man. I get it. But that's just my opinion. And I'm going to get that out of the way before I start complaining about that throughout the entire sprue portion of the video. Anyways, Combat Patrol. Back on task with what we're talking about. This box is amazing. 20 Berserkers, 10 Jackals, and a Lord on a Juggernaut. Oh, sorry. I took a little sip of a drink there a moment ago, and it just caught up with me. Anyways, yeah, this box set's amazing. I think if you're going to start World Eaters and you want pure 40k miniatures that are new, you buy 2 of these. If you buy 2 of these, you get a Lord Invocatus and a Juggernaut Lord. You get 40 Khorne Berserkers, so that's either 8 squads of 5 or 4 squads of 10 or whatever mix you want to do. And then you get 20 of these Jackals. I think Jackals are going to be a really solid backfield unit in 10th edition. The reason being is that they are cheap. 20 of them cost barely more than 5 Khorne Berserkers. But you'll have 20, meaning it's a while before they're battle shocked. Or requires, you know, some serious targeting. Now, the downside to them, obviously, is that they're weaker, so they will go down faster. But then because of the way we have that, it's a stratagem, I believe, in 10th edition. I still don't fully know everything that's been out. I'm not Auspex Tactics. But there's a stratagem which will be like 1 CP, I think, and when a unit dies, it makes the objective sticky. I think it's a stratagem. But anyways, you can make an objective sticky. So if it's in your backfield, it's your objective, and it's later in the game. You don't have to worry about somebody dropping in behind you and they're not an army that's going to be able to whip around your side really fast and get to it. You can probably just sticky that objective and you've got the objective. Nobody's going to get to it. And if it looks like they are, you should hopefully, unless you're really losing badly, you'll have time to react accordingly and send something back if you have to. But yeah, Jackals, I think they're a really good unit to have. Again, cheap bodies in an army that's very elite. I built my list, and I think these guys average out to like 22 to 24 points a model, these Berserkers, the way I've built the units in 10-man blobs. And that's before I give them like a Rhino. So that's a, way over 300 point unit if I put them in a Rhino. Having something that's 20 man that is under like 150 if you don't want any upgrades or, not much more, it's a big savings and it's worth it. Or if you go with the smaller units at 70 points, you can spread them out to multiple objectives. And again, worst case, they die and you just sticky the objective and they did their job and it's a good investment. Berserkers, that's our bread and butter unit. We need these guys, I think, because they are just going to offer the most bang for buck in terms of numbers and points spent. I know a lot of people are talking about having a lot of 8-bound and exalted 8-bound, but I'm looking at the 8-bound rules and I just see one problem, and it's the same problem I've always had with these super small elite units. If you have 3 exalted 8-bound, every casualty you take, you're losing 33% of a unit. Even if you take a 6-man exalted or a regular bloodbound, 8-bound unit, losing one guy is still like over 15% of the unit gone, and you're losing major combat effectiveness. There's lots of weapons. I don't care what GW said in all of their whole, this is a less lethal edition. It's very clear this is still going to be a very lethal edition. And yes, railguns aren't going to be targeting infantry usually. But in this army, what exactly are they targeting? Did you bring Angron? Because if you didn't bring Angron, I don't know exactly what that railgun's going to be targeting other than maybe your Land Raider. Most players who don't have Angron don't have anything for those big guns to shoot at except 8-bound. The 8-bound are going to get rocked. They're going to get knocked off the board. Whereas these guys here, yes, they're expensive, but you give them a Rhino, they're about 350 points, a little bit less than that. And they're racing up the board as quick as you can get them there. And as long as you just accept that there's going to be turns where you lose your Rhinos, you're going to be mostly fine, or you run them. I don't know how running is going to work in 10th edition. I still don't know all the rules yet, again, like I said. But I think these guys here are the ones that are going to do the major damage for us. Now, I also think that for the most part, we're going to get our asses handed to us by most shooting armies. That's just how 40k goes. And I'm fine with that. I know who I play against for the most part, and I don't really face Tau at this point. And I very seldom, if ever, see another guard player. So I'm not super concerned about, a gun line just removing me. And if there's going to be a case where somebody wants to play their gun line, I have other armies. I just wouldn't bring this guy or these guys because neither of us are really going to have a fun game. Yes, there are some really simple, joyous, roll dice, remove models, Tau players and guard players who just love to, win by turn 2 because they've deleted everything. But for the most part, that's not as fun. You take all your time to set your stuff up. You want to actually play a game, for a couple of hours, not just for 2 turns. So I have other armies for those games. These guys are just going to be my fun. I don't want to think. These are barbarians. Let's just run across screaming and hear the laments of their women. That's what these guys are. These are the Conan guys. Just they're angry Conan. So, really cool box as far as showing you what's in here. This is the first combat patrol I've bought. This one here, they in general, I've seen all of them at some point. They seem to have space for like nice big pictures, which I like. I really dislike not having a good reference photo, and all the boxes GW sells, they have good reference photos. They always do, but they're small. These are like almost full size. I don't know if they're quite full size, but like these are really good images of what these guys look like and what you can do with them. So that's nice. And now I'm just going to pause this for a moment. I'm going to move on to grabbing the sprue. So just give me a second. Okay, sorry about that. Here we go. So right here we have a. This is the what you get in a box of Berserkers. This is the Berserker sprue set, and it's 3 sprues total, or 1 large and 1 small. I think it depends on how they're packaged. I assume the Berserker box is small enough that you would actually want these split. So anyways, they are packed. There's tons of stuff on here, but not so much that you just get lost. I find I'm getting lost with those Eldar, like I said. But with these guys here, it's pretty straightforward. You got a whole bunch of different shoulder pads scattered here and there. And then, like I said, you've got bodies and the bits you need kind of really nicely, almost quartered. You can see there's a really good distinction of where everything is for each guy. And it's got, as always, great, crisp details. I think the Chaos in general is the best stuff they produce because they can really just go to town. It's up there with like Orcs and a couple of the other more like outlandish looking armies, just because there's so much they can do, and it's not really wrong. It's Chaos. It's supposed to be covered in stuff. Look, I guess I'll flip these guys here in a second and you'll see the heads better. But yeah, I mean, on this sprue, I think there's 8 of the guys on this set of sprues. And they're really, really well detailed. I'm going to flip this so that we can get... where are they? These are the helmetless heads. I think there might be more on the other sprue. But there's great detail on them. They look cool. I don't tend to use heads without helmets. Especially with these guys, I want these. These are Berserker heads, as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, they're great. Everything on here is nice. Great mix of axes and chainsaw, or what are they called? Chain blades. They're very reminiscent of old school Chaos weapons that we were getting back in like 2nd edition and 3rd edition. And I like that throughout the history of Games Workshop producing some of these lines, there's some that just haven't changed. The Guard, you know, arguably they're the same, but, you know, just high definition essentially. But then, you know, you look at the Marines and the way they've evolved into the Primaris, which I just feel like that's going to become sort of just the Marine line. I think most people agree with that. Things upgrade, and, you know, you get the new Devastator unit that has like those weird rocket launcher machine guns, and it's very different from the Devastators. But like Chaos, I just feel like it always looks the same. We might get a new unit, but for the most part, you just see the same stuff. It really does lend to that whole Long War lore that they've been fighting against the Imperium for 10,000 years, and that many of these guys are the original Legionnaires that, you know, hundreds of thousands of Legionnaires that split from the Imperium, and, you know, still tens, if not hundreds of thousands that survived that conflict and then went into the warp, and they've been coming out as raiders and whatnot for 10,000 years. So I like seeing that, or knowing that, you know, even if they're not the same guys, the weapons are getting just passed along. So here's that other sprue. We get an icon. It just attaches to a backpack. We get more helmetless heads, so I didn't realize there was that many heads. I knew they were there, but I think I just didn't take the time to recognize how many there are. More bits to make guys. Lots of shoulder pad options. There is a blank here. I'll explain that in a minute. Yeah, just great stuff. Lots of chains and skulls, and it's a great kit. I really, really, really like the old Khorne Berserkers, but I fully accept that they are not good models by any stretch, and they ever really were. but they really defined who the Chaos Berserkers were, the Khorne Berserkers, sorry. And just knowing that GW took them and just, again, gave us the HD remake it's nice. There's nothing finicky that tells me, that there's something new here. These are the same guys. They just look better. And yeah, here's what's on that spot. I grabbed the wrong sprue when I took this piece off building a guy. It's just an Eviscerator in his arms. You get a couple of large weapons, two-handed weapons, an Eviscerator, and then you get a big axe, which I think is technically for a sergeant. I built both by accident, really wasn't paying attention. Also, just wanted them because it's cool. So I'll figure that out when I get to building the second squad, what I did wrong. And I think, again, I might have built one too many plasma guns because of bad information from Battlescribe when I should have been looking at Wahapedia to get the actual what weapons can go where. But this is the problem. That is an issue. Games Workshop, get stuff out. Again, you know what? Good on you for not selling us those new codexes. I still think a bunch of them are for sale for some reason, but you admitted that it's going to be an issue instead of, just having new players get pissed off in a month when they find out their book they just bought because they didn't follow any news is garbage. You just pulled it. But, if you aren't going to sell it, just give us the rules. Put it in your stupid app for free. I went to check the app. It's all locked. I couldn't, go and see stuff. So, just give everybody the book in the app. And, what's the worst that happens? We see what the rules are? They're not for sale. This is just being tight-fisted for the sake of it. This is not protecting your IP. This is not protecting your profits. You're not making profits. You don't sell the book. Let me have the rules. Guess what? I got the rules anyways. I get that you don't want to hear that, but everybody talks openly about using Wahapedia. We have Battlescribe. And I still got those rules. I don't rely on those to get my rules normally. I have books. Even if I don't like the price of a codex, I have every codex for every army I play. I have every army book for every army I played in Fantasy. Over multiple editions, I have a shelf. I'm looking at it right now. And I've got 50 books on it at least between the two systems in multiple editions. And that's not even all of them. I have stuff put away because I'm just never going to look at it again. I don't care about looking at 7th edition or 8th edition. But, you are not stopping me from getting the rules. And as far as I'm concerned, I bought the models. I have a right to the rules. You don't have an authority to me to say that I can't have my rules for my army I just bought. I'm going to play them because I bought them. And all you did was force me to go use Wahapedia and Battlescribe instead of just conveniently getting a book. Or, again, just giving me the rules as a sign of good faith. You guys put out an army 3 months before the edition was going to end. That's not our fault as players. That was your business decision. You wanted to rush out one last army, and that's fine. I'm not against it. But give us the rules for free. Just say, hey, just as a treat. And a sneak peek of how we're going to be able to distribute our rules digitally. Here are the rules for World Eaters. Here are the rules for the Imperial Guard. Honestly, just put them all up for free. There's a month left. Put every single book on your app for free, and people might actually download your app. Your app is garbage. It's a pain in the ass to use. It's not intuitive at all. And nothing works unless you buy a book. There's basic tidbits, but everything I've gone to do, it tells me I'm locked out of it. So I'm not even going to bother with your stupid app. I'll take a look at it for 10th edition. But I have a nice tablet, and in all likelihood, I will just find good alternative screenshots or mock-ups of your rule data sheets, and I'll use those because I can already tell you're going to put out bad data sheet formats. It's going to be a pain in the butt to use, and I'll just find someone else who provided the exact same thing in a better to digest format. Somebody will do it. That's how this community works. Anyways, rant over. Back to the Jackals. So the Jackals, it's 2 sprues. There's nothing really in here to really talk about specifically. It's basically, if you think of the Jackals, you are building less armored berserkers. They are still covered in chains and skulls, and they still have chain swords and chain axes, and they have bigger chain swords and bigger chain axes, and little chain saws. The main difference is just, again, they're less armored. So let's flip this around. They're very, very nice. As always, I mean, I'm just going to say it. I'm always going to say the models are nice because Games Workshop models are nice. A lot of people will try to say that, oh, you can get a 3D print and it's better. You can get a third party and it's just as good. It's not. There are very nice 3D prints. But the best 3D prints all have fairly hefty STL price tags attached to them. And while you still save money, I don't want to pay, let's say, $25 for an STL file of something that really, in the end, is basically a knockoff. I love 3D printing. I will grab free files because I'm not looking to pay a ton of money for STLs. I'm doing this usually just to get bits for the most part, which I'll talk about in a minute again, because I did use bits to expand what I got in this box. And yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I just want bits. Like to print a whole army, I've done it. I've printed out everything I need for an army in Fantasy, and it was fine. It looks fine, but it's a pain in the butt. It's a lot simpler to open a box and put a few guys together or buy a used army, which I don't have to put together at all. And yeah. But anyways, great models. Lots of cool bits. Lots of cool heads. I like these guys the way they look. They're quite cool. I like this too. I like this guy. Just looks like he's just about to swing a giant censer around. I like this. I don't know what this is. This is like a chainsword machete. Like, I don't know. There's cool stuff with a warhammer attached to it. Oops. I mean, they're very creative little weapons on here. It is very much like, almost like, I don't know, like they have like junior berserker weapons almost. I don't know, like they're not big enough to hold the big ones, so they just gave them like the training weapons. They're like, yeah, these guys are like, maybe even the lore. Maybe they are neophytes essentially. Maybe they're training to be Khorne berserkers. Again, I can't tell because I don't have the rulebook to read the lore. That's another thing. They didn't even put the lore sections on Warhammer Plus, as far as I can tell. I do have a Warhammer Plus subscription. I took a couple of months of it just to catch up on some stuff. I don't do full year subscriptions yet because just there hasn't been a model I want. Yeah, these are cool. And I don't have any lore. I mean, I got to rely on, again, third-party lore. I've got to wait for someone like Lutrin to put out, or Book of Choir? I don't know how to say it. There's a few pages that do lore. I got to wait for them to do the lore videos, because I can't just read the lore that GW wrote. I got to go to the Warhammer Wiki, anyways. I can't think. Lexicanum. I got to go to places like that to get lore. Not because, I don't want to go look it up in one of my books because I can't remember which edition they said that in. I need to go look because I literally don't have the lore. You just won't give me anything with this army, and it's very frustrating. So anyways, this is the Lord on Juggernaut. I can only assume this is both kits. I'll take a look at the book here in just a second with you, but Juggernauts are cool. They've always been cool. It's just like a giant robot bull, and it's got an angry demon inside it, and that's pretty sweet. It's got like spiky head, and there's all kinds of different heads. Oh, this one's got a chainsaw. I mean, this is great stuff. He doesn't look like he's too hard to build. He looks like the main bull is probably let's say 10 to 15 pieces. Totally fair for a model of that size. It's enough to give you lots of detail and not be too finicky. The rider is probably going to be not too many pieces. I do wish the rider was just sort of sculpted on, at least his legs, just to save time, but, that is what it is. So anyways, I think this, again, just everything has been super nice. I keep saying that because I mean it. These are really cool models. Chaos is cool. Khorne is cool. They have great, like, just big, like, hand and a half chain swords. I mean, it's really fun. And there's lots of options on here. I think you could easily cannibalize this sprue with one of the Khorne Berserkers. Like, that's another thing. If you bought 2 of these, you can use these bits to make better sergeants. You can use these bits mixed with Berserkers to make like an Executioner. There's lots of stuff you could do, I think, with this Combat Patrol. It is definitely much better than the Imperial Guard one. I have 2 of those. Well, I have the Cadia Stands box times 2, which are just the Combat Patrol, it turned out. And there's some cool stuff in there, and there's some really, like, nice to have or good to have, your Cadians and stuff. But, I mean, it's nothing compared to this. You can get 20 Khorne Berserkers or 20 Cadian shock troops. Like, I don't care. There's artillery and a walker in that set. You know, you're getting 31 models here, and in the Imperial Guard, you're getting 28, I think. Yeah, 2 squads of 10 Cadians, a 5-man command team, the 2 artillery pieces, and the Sentinel. I think that's what's in there. I know that they're doing the Combat Patrol with special rules just to make those games more balanced, but I mean, it's really hard to look at this box set or the Custodes box set and even entertain the thought that there's going to be any balance without such ridiculous rule changes that new players aren't going to be learning anything from Combat Patrol, I don't think. They'll learn the basics to the core game, and that's it. After that, they'll have to relearn their army, because there's no way those boxes are going to play like their armies and be balanced like they promised. I mean, it's one or the other. Is it not balanced? Or is it balanced because you made such drastic changes to those armies that they're going to play completely differently from the core experience of those armies, of those factions? I'm curious to see how Combat Patrol works out. Hopefully we get some more information soon on that. I know they've already probably told us everything they're going to say, but you know what? Someone's going to leak it. They've leaked everything else. We'll get the Combat Patrol rules soon enough, I'm sure. So I guess we'll have to wait and see how that goes. Anyways, you also get a couple of very shiny transfer sheets. Black, gold, red. I mean, I don't think there's any other colors on here. It's just cool. Standard Khorne stuff. I mean, again, it's cool. Like, I mean, the chaos is cool to me. I use that word a lot when I talk about certain armies. Chaos is one of those ones that I always think is cool. I know they're a bit of your edgelord, you know, mentality army with all the spiky bits and stuff, but they look great. Just get 2 of them. They're the exact same, as far as I can tell. Yeah, I don't think there's anything different. And just one moment, I'm going to pause this one more time, and I'm going to grab what I've built so far, just so you can see what built Khorne Berserkers look like. Okay, so got it all set up, and move that out of the way. I just realized it was still in shot. It's just like my little box of 3D printed bits, bodies and whatnot, to use up the extra heads and arms. Yeah. So I forgot to mention the book. I was going to go show it really quick. It's just a how to build book, but it does confirm what I said. You can build both versions of the Mounted Lord. And otherwise, you get, you know, some basic rules. These are essentially worthless. They're all going to change here very soon. And you don't have any, like, actual, like, how to play rules. Like, they don't have the special rules, so these are not worth anything. That's just my personal thought on those. They give you an idea of what their stats are, but without knowing their special rules, I just feel like it's pointless. Again, these guys are really easy to build. And they give you a nice explanation of how the pieces work. And yeah, I mean, GW makes pretty good instructions. Sometimes they're not as good as other times, but these ones are pretty good. So, completed Khorne Berserkers. they look really good. I still have to go across these guys and just, shave off any spurs and whatnot. I was mostly focused on getting them on here. I got to drill out some barrels. But my goal was get them ready so that I could maybe play a small game with them tomorrow. I've got other armies for bigger games, but if I'm just playing a small game tomorrow, and I don't know yet, these guys could be fun. Yeah, they're really, really cool. They're really, angry looking dudes. And they've got such good proportions. I don't know if they're quite as big as a Primaris. I don't have any on hand to put them next to them, but it feels essentially the same as the Primaris versus older Firstborn Marines. These guys are just bigger and sleeker versions of what we had, and it's what I expect from Games Workshop and their miniatures. Another guy with a big axe again. I'm not sure about this guy. I may have done him wrong. Also, I think his head shifted. I'm going to have to pop his head off and realign it. Maybe it's okay. I guess it's okay once he's like this, but... Oops. Like this. But his head just seems a little off to me. And, yeah, so that's 10 Berserkers. Using some extra bits, I did put together these guys that I printed. This guy here obviously using some arms and a head and just a body I got off somewhere. I mean, a lot of my files I've just sort of like tucked away, and I think these came from a Patreon, but I stopped paying for that Patreon like a year ago, maybe like a while back anyways. This guy's got this cool chainsaw arm I found on like Thingiverse or somewhere. This guy's got a chainsaw head. I mean, I just had some fun. I went with making something that I felt would, for the most part, fit. I like this guy's pose because it makes me think of the old Berserkers. And I think size-wise, I got these scaled just about right. It was kind of a guess. And they look okay. I think once they're all painted up, it's all going to match pretty well. And that's something that I do suggest anybody who has the opportunity to get things like bodies, spare bodies, always should, whether it's printed or through bit sellers. You get a lot of extra bits in these kits. And just putting together, I think I put 7 or 8 of these guys together. I used up basically all the extra bits other than some heads so far. Of the sprues from the first set of 10. So I basically have one set of 10. The sprues are absolutely cleaned off. I'm not losing any bits to a bit box that I'll, in all likelihood never get to. Or having just a bunch of like half-clip sprues everywhere because I just don't have the time at the moment. I don't see any reason to clip them. I've done all the work now. It's clean. That can go right to the recycling option, and I can get rid of that stuff. So yeah, overall, I think this is a great kit. I know this video is very long. This is another one of those ones where I was kind of just rambling about the army as I went through it and not just going through the unboxing. If you guys don't like these, just tell me. I'm happy to not do this because as much as I enjoy chatting about all this stuff, this is a really long video and it takes a while to get 30 some odd minutes done. And really do not show off too much. So I can understand how this could be boring to some people. So just let me know if it is. And if you prefer me doing it this way, I can also always do other unboxings that hopefully aren't as long just because, it wouldn't be big boxes like this in the Eldar. Hopefully, take it down to like 15 minutes on an unboxing. Anyways, thanks very much for watching. If you have any thoughts or comments, leave them down below. And as always, have yourselves a great day.